acknowledging the Boonwurrung and Wurundjeri clans of the Kulin Nation, who are the custodians of the lands and waters, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. It's nice to see a good turnout today and also online. Today it's a really important presentation, something that's relevant to all of us, not just the ECRs and early mid-career researchers, but raising funds and writing a good grant and having a compelling budget is really critical to success of bringing funding in to do your research and support your salaries and so on. So we've got two presentations today, essentially emerged presentations today by Juen Ding and Vincent Zhou, both of whom have got stellar sort of backgrounds in finance and business from consulting at KPMG with Juen, and Vincent, who's also come from the Monash Business School and has spent a lot of time within the university and really understands how these things work and how important putting together a good budget is. And I understand that it's going to be quite an interactive session. They'll give some information, but there'll also be the chance for you to ask questions, for you to engage with QR codes and give feedback and questions along the way. So please do take the opportunity to make the most of this. And with that, I'm happy to pass the floor across to Vincent. Welcome.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, so good afternoon, everyone. So today I'm Vincent. Obviously, this is my colleague June. So today we'll be talking briefly about the university's research costing and pricing policy. So here's the agenda item. So we'll be talking about a little bit about ourselves, who we are, what we do, what are the resources and tools that we provide, and how we can help with our researchers and how you can fund us. And we'll be talking about the costing and the pricing policies, and what's the methodology, why we are doing this, and why it is important for us to follow the procedures and policies. And we'll be talking about some of the common mistakes and the most frequently asked questions about the costings. And I'll be showing you all the available resources and tools that are available to support your research. And then we will run a live demo on how to use the costing model to do some simple costings. And we'll have time for questions. All right. So Research and Revenue Accounting Services, aka the R&R. So we are part of the central finance teams. We are a group of finance business partners which partnering with our researchers and providing financial services and advice to our researchers and academics. We work closely with faculty stakeholders as well as Monash Research Office throughout the whole life cycle of your research project. So we can help post-award, which is helping with the project costing, that's pre-award and a post-award from funds management, forecasting, budgeting, researcher meetings, and the compliance review. We provide a financial research, a researcher financial dashboard for you to check all the finance aspects of your projects. And we also help with the critical and external reporting when there is a requirement for that. We also coordinate with the university's audits for all the research finances. So currently we are managing about 2,500 active research groups, centers, and hubs. We manage over 12,000 active research funds at the moment. R&R and Monash Enterprise are the joint custodian of the university's costing and pricing policy, and R&R are the owner of the university's costing model. We can help you to prepare a costing for all the commercial, international, and the research contract. We can also help you to review a prepared costings just to check funding guidelines, compliance with university policy and procedures. We can also provide trainings and workshops on how to use the costing models if needed. Excuse me. So if you do need our support to prepare your costings, we would really appreciate if you can reach out to us as early as possible, but generally no less than 5 days, because we want to have enough time to do a proper review. Just bear in mind, for the more complicated ones, such as Center of Excellence, Industry Hubs, and MFF, these are generally will taking longer lead time. The target for the costing and pricing policy is to making sure whenever the Monash University has a genuine opportunity to do a full cost recovery or to obtain a research contribution margin, we should be doing that. Okay, we aim to provide consistency, also transparency in how the research is costed across the whole universities. For the university's perspective, it's supporting the long-term financial sustainability of the university by maximizing our cost recovery. And hopefully we can, using the tool to provide a bit of insight of what's the true cost of the research for management's decision-making. At the project level, we try to minimize the financial risk of a project, and also we want to ensure the research pricing reflects the impact and the value. Okay, not following the procedure and the policy might have some consequences, such as non-compliance for funding rules. So funding arrangement can result in legal ramifications, and consequently the need to return the funds and strain the relationships with the funding bodies will make future funding opportunity a challenge, and also potential institutional reputation damage. At the individual fund and project level, a poorly budgeted project will sometimes lead to insufficient resource can be allocated to project. So as a result, you probably will compromise the quality or the result of the project. Okay, costing. So essentially, the process of research costing is a process for us to identify all of the costs that are associated with the project. So essentially, helping you to ask yourself what are the resources that you need for you to be able to deliver the project. Okay, so from the finances perspective, we try to segment those costs into 2 buckets. So direct costs, which covers the staff-related cost, that covers your base salary, your salary on cost, your office and facilities and space charge, your research corporate services charge. Non-salary related costs, examples could be student-related, lab-related costs, and other expenditures that are directly associated with the project. Okay, the indirect cost is a calculation as a percentage of the total direct cost. So for non-lab-based research, we're recommending 12%. For lab-based research, we're recommending 20%. Add them all together, that's the cost of the research. Okay, this is just some stats and assumptions that we used in the costing model. So for your office and general facilities, this is an FTE driven cost. So for 2024, this cost is around 14,000 per FTE. The central support charges for 2024 is around 47,000 per FTE. Okay, and these are total. When we're applying this indirect cost, now the indirect cost is 20% for lab and 12% for non-lab, as mentioned. So when we're applying the indirect cost, we exclude the equipment and the research corporate services charge just to avoid duplication. So here are the, that's just for transparency. So this is a section of the university's budget book. We are in line we align our costing model with the university's budgeting principles. So these are the activity-based rates for those research-related activities. So that's how the assumptions are made in our costing models. Okay, pricing. The key difference between pricing and costing is, well, the costing is a fact or the best estimate based on our assumptions. But the pricing is a decision, okay, where we're taking a lot of other factors into consideration, such as the market conditions, the value we are bringing, and also our strategic interest into the project. Typically, a research pricing policy applies to those externally funded research projects that allow discretionary pricing, okay? Which means there are no specific funding rules which limit the amount of funding that it can be applied, okay? So, because of that, so for competitive grants, such as ARC and HMRC, where they have very strict funding rules, these are excluded from this pricing policy, okay? And also bear in mind, any project that require a cash contribution from the university are also excluded from this policy. If you are applying for any commercial contracts, please reach out to your BDM, Andrew, or your dedicated R&R business partners for help. Research contribution margin is basically the price over and above the total cost of the research project. This is mainly a mechanism for rewarding our researchers. So our recommended treatment of the RCM is to 1/3 of that will be allocated directly back to the researcher, and 2/3 will be allocated to the faculty for reinvestment into the research. But this is a school and a faculty discretionary decision. So check with your school and faculty for the detailed treatment of that. And similarly, as I mentioned, if a research contribution margin is charged, then a cash contribution cannot be authorized. All right, here, that's pretty much the same. The top part is identical as the research costing. The only differences are the bottom two. Whereas on top of the total cost, we will be taking the research contribution margin into consideration. And sometimes a discount can be considered. So for this one, you need to bear in mind, discount is not a default. You need to specify the strategic reason why you're offering discount. You need to record that in your pure award, okay? And a discount can only be approved by the dean or the dean's delegate. All right, so you add these all together, that's our total research price. I think that's it now. Hand over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Juen. So I'll be covering, I guess, the common costing misconceptions that we've seen through, I guess, researchers coming to us and asking for some help reviewing their costings. So the most common one I would say is the omission of salary on costs. So as you saw in the slide earlier about the costing methodology, on top of your base salary, you've also got around 40.78% of on costs, which includes things such as annual leave, long service leave, payroll tax as well, that the university has to cover on top of your base salary. I'll send this slide to everyone out later, but essentially you can click on this link here and you can see the breakdown of actually all the percentages and what that's made up of. So essentially, if you don't include salary on costs, you're understating the total cost to the university. Another common misconception is that overheads are the same as on costs. So as Vince briefly explained previously, overheads are essentially costs that are not directly associated with one specific project, whereas salary on costs normally will form part of your direct costs as part of the total personnel costs for your project. Again, as Vince kind of briefly described, costing is not the same as pricing. So costing ensures you're covering essentially the full direct and indirect costs of your project, and pricing is the acknowledgement of the value that the institutions are providing above those costs. Something specific to STM is the Monash program. So these staff are not costed the same as Monash uni staff. So as your school is refining its policy, please make sure that you reach out to R&R if you have any Monash program staff that you need to cost into your project. And another, I guess, thing that we recommend, please approach our team. Poorly, as Vince briefly described as well, poorly planned budgets can have various consequences. So please reach out to our team. The FX rate, essentially, this is applicable for international funding. So for any projects lasting more than 12 months, we normally use the average forecasted NAB exchange rate, but we can help you out with this as well. And lastly, so PSP rates. So please bear in mind, these are only for NHMRC costings, and this is not the same as the cost of the staff. This is just how much NHMRC will provide Monash. And essentially, how can you avoid these mistakes? Again, please reach out to R&R as soon as you intend to apply for a research grant, and also make sure to use the costing model. So those, I guess, that's an overview of the main costing misconceptions. And I'll quickly move on to the main costing and pricing resources that we have. So I guess the most useful link would be the link to the actual costing model. So when you get the slide later, you can click on this link. It'll take you to our intranet page. Then on this page, we've essentially got 3 different categories of costing and pricing models. So one is the ARC costing model, one is the NHMRC costing model, and then we've got a costing model for essentially all other grants. And it's divided into grants that are 1 to 4 years, or ones that are between 5 to 10 years. And yeah, as a quick reminder, please always remember to download the latest version from the internet, as we're constantly improving this. Some other helpful costing and pricing resources. So on our intranet, we've also got a compiled funding guidelines. So we compiled this last year and essentially listed out eligible costs, such as an ineligible cost, so you can find out our indirect costs allowed, what costs you can actually claim. So definitely check it out over here. Another useful thing is the consultancy rate guidelines, which specifies the minimum rate for services that aren't classified as research. As well, and we can also, if you check out our workplace group, we essentially post all research finance updates here, so make sure to join our group. In regards to FAQs, so we actually have recently done a review of all the most common, I guess, FAQs, which we've updated here, and it's being categorized by, the relevant topics. So definitely helpful and worth checking out over here. And lastly, we actually do have an online training module. So if you're interested in learning more, definitely check this out on the link over here. And that essentially covers, I guess, the most helpful resources. So I will go into scenario next, but I'll quickly just show you, because I'll be using the costing model. Essentially, I will click on this link over here. Sorry, I will just change screens. Sorry, do you mind helping me? I'm like trying to get up the other screen. What do you need? I just need to project this rather than. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that an email that gets sent to all the researchers, or does it go to a specific person and they're supposed to let researchers know you can now download the latest version?
So we don't necessarily send out an email, because I guess we pick up small things here and there. So we don't normally actually send out, like, I guess, an email wide. Which is why I guess we just say, if you ever want to prepare a costing, just make sure you refer to the one on the intranet.
Yeah, John, could I request that
Yeah.
there be a version number added to every spreadsheet?
Yeah, so normally.
Dozens, maybe hundreds of spreadsheets, and of course they change all the time. And I have no idea what difference there is between old versions.
Yeah.
Well, we might always use the new version. It'd be great to know that that was 2024 version 5 or month or however many. But it'd be such a helpful thing just to put on one sheet somewhere.
Yeah, so I'll quickly show you, but I'll download our costing model here. So at the top of all of the welcome pages, you'll be able to see the date that it was last updated.
Yes, but it's not built into the spreadsheet though.
It is at the top. I'll quickly show you. I'll just open this up. So it'll be in the name. So for example, this was last updated on the 13th of August. So it'll actually be in the name of the file that you'll end up.
People can edit the name. It'd be great if it was in the sheet. That's what I'm asking for.
So yeah, we do have a version date up here. It's, I guess, yeah, you can easily, yeah, you might miss that, but it is up there. So you'll be able to see, I guess, which version we're talking about. Yeah.
Well, would it be helpful, say, on the internet, say, last updated on this date, and then what version? That'd be helpful.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely something we can put on our intranet so that everyone's aware of when it was last updated. Yeah, can definitely do that. All right, so I'll move into an example. So today I'll be going through a Wellcome Trust costing application. I'll quickly show you, I guess, the quick, sorry. So the scenario that I have here. So essentially Wellcome Trust is an international funder. So, and we'll just assume that it's a 5-year application. So as you can see, the costing model I've got here is a 5 to 10 year application. And because it's an international funder, sorry, I will be picking it from the drop down. So for example, here, donation request international. For this one, I will, let's see. So essentially, because there's actually a specified indirect cost rate. I will show you how to do that in a minute, but I'll show you the other fields. So normally you just pick your faculty. So medicine over here, you can put in your CI over here, the name of the funding organization. So in this example, we're doing Wellcome Trust. I'll put my own name in here. And essentially this will be 20th of August. Yeah, and so essentially what I meant about the indirect cost rate, so if there is a different indirect cost rate, essentially you'll need to select this button, and then you can change it to whatever indirect cost rate you need to use. And then if I scroll down to, so after you filled out those things, then you'll essentially come to here, and once you click one of these buttons, it'll open up all the relevant tabs for you. So in this case, I'm assuming that it's a grant without collaborating partners. So when I click this, essentially will open up all the tabs, I guess, which require input. So in this example, I've said staff D level 1 for 5 years and a staff C level 1. So it's relatively easy to fill out. So you can just put in, this is a free text field over here. So you can just put in the person's name. So I'll just put person A, for example. And we'll just assume they're on site. And then once you click this, essentially you'll need to select the Monash staff type. So I'll go with research academic, and then I'll just say level D step 1, which is what I think I put in the scenario. Essentially, and I said 0.5 FTE over the 5 years. So once you enter in an FTE, you'll see that it'll automatically calculate essentially your base salary plus the on cost automatically. So you can see that over here, and you can see that it's increasing each year because essentially our salaries are increasing every year, I think, per the new EBA by 3.5%. So that's what's been applied here. It will take into account step increases as well. However, given it's step 1, we don't assume any further increases from the step increment into our model. And let's just try this out. So person B over here as well, we're assuming it'll be on site. The academic as well. And we'll try a different step. So level C, step 1, and they're 0.1 FTE. So you can see that it's relatively easy to fill out. You just need to select the level and essentially the FTE that they'll be actually working on the project each year. What else did I have? So yeah, if you wanted to have postdocs as well, level A, step 3, new hires. So the difference between the new hires, essentially, we assume that if you're a new hire, you'll be a step lower than existing staff. So this will give you something slightly different. So if I do on-site, academic, and then I go down to new hire, level A, step 3. And then I've essentially just said 2 full-time staff. So I'll just put in 2 FTE essentially across the 5 years. All right. And then, so the rest of the field, so for example, consultant costs, consumables, and other expenses. So these are all also relatively easy to fill out. You just need to, so for the 5-year grant, it's on a separate tab. So I'll click on this tab. So for consultant, I'll just, normally you just write a description. I'll just put in consultant for now, but you can write any description that you like there. I've said 5,000 a year. So all I need to do is just enter in 5,000 each year, and that will automatically calculate over there. And the next thing I wrote was consumables as well. So we've got some consumables, and then I will just enter in that for year 1 to 3. And then the last thing was, I think, other expenses. So publications, so 4,000. So over here, I'll just put in publications. So I just said 4,000 for the last 2 years. So yeah, that's just sort of the general principle. It's pretty straightforward and easy to use, so don't be afraid of using it. But also the R&R team is definitely here to help you out. So as Vince also explained before, so this down here, RCS, so he provided the breakdown of what RCS actually relates to, and that is an FTE-based amount. So this is essentially based on the number of FTE that you've put in over here, which is around 44,000 per FTE. Given that Wellcome Trust doesn't fund any admin support, I'm going to put in 100% in kind. This essentially means that Monash will be providing this. If I move to the next tab, so indirect costs, so you can see that because I've changed the percentage, it's calculating your indirect overhead cost is 15% over here. So this will automatically calculate for you as well. Sorry. And there's also, yeah, direct space costs. So I'm going to put in that as 100%. So we're not going to request that from the funder. And essentially, once you're done, you can see the total research cost. Sorry. Oh, and another note over here, I guess given, so because it's an international, I guess, donation that we've put in on the first tab, this model, I guess, as you can see here, it automatically assumes a research contribution margin of 10%. So essentially, because Wellcome Trust doesn't allow anything, they don't cover overheads or anything additional, we essentially have to discount this. So this will be, I essentially just manually have to key in that to subtract this from the total that we're going to be requesting from the funder. So you can just do minus that. And then you should be all good. And then if you want to, yeah, this is R&R, don't worry, R&R will help you. I'm just kind of running you through so you can understand what's in the costing model. So if you see it, you're not like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then if I move over, so essentially you'll be able to see an overall report of, so this is more internal. So this is for you to see, I guess, what it's actually costing. So you can see over here that Monash essentially will be in kind contributing 800,000 through the RCS and the OGFS costs. This is the Monash research price. So this is actually what is going, this is the total cost of the project. And this is essentially, yeah, Monash will be covering the discount and the in-kind of 1 million over here in this scenario. And this amount over here is essentially what we're requesting from the funding body. So it's just a couple of different tables that you can see that in. And then there's also a few different tables or reports that you can get. So if I click Monash summary project, oh, sorry, not this one, sorry, this one. With overheads over here. So I think normally for Wellcome Trust, you would use this one because you can enter in the FX rate over here. So essentially you can key in the FX rate and then you can apply for the budget in the currency that the funder needs. And yeah, that's a brief overview. You can see, I guess, the expense categories and I guess your overall cost over here. Does anyone have any questions about that? Or we're all good?
Is it possible to get the exchange rate put on the lines? Because like when we have to do the budget, we have to put in line by line, we can't just have like DRCs. So like rather than, because otherwise we would still have to kind of.
So as in like you'd want it like over here, like each
No,
or
as in like that is, this is a summary that is fed by, you know, the 20 lines.
Yep.
Costs that we put in, because it's possible to get the FX rate exchange put on those individual lines.
Oh, as in
Because
back.
otherwise, like, you know, that actually doesn't help that much. We don't get to put in like £2 million. We have to put in 50,000 pounds for this. And
So you meant like on this sort of line basis. So there is another report. So normally we use this for, I guess, US grants, but theoretically you could kind of have the same. So for this one, yeah, we normally use, this is normally for US grants, but theoretically, yeah, you could put in your Forex rate here and you've got it. So if I put in Forex rate of 0.5, that would automatically calculate for you. So yeah, this is just the US Fed Gov, I guess, report format. But you can definitely ask R&R to help you out if you need help with that. Or does that answer your question?
I mean, it answers it, but
Yeah. Yeah, so if you have any questions, I mean, reach out to R&R, we're happy to help. But yeah, this is how I would essentially get your FX converted line by line. This is probably the best way to do it. Does anyone have any other questions? Yeah.
In-kind contributions
Mhm.
really significant.
Yeah.
So does R&R sign off on those in-kind contributions, or does the researcher need to get approval from someone in order to put in a discount or a kind of 800,000?
So R&R doesn't do any of those approvals. Normally that will be with the faculty or the school.
So are there already defined rules for example, Wellcome Trust or other major international funders? Many people have already gone through this process where it's just accepted that the in-kind contributions can be like this, or the earnings can be set. Or do we need to be ahead of time talk to the school or to the faculty about those in-kind discounts before we make the budget?
Yeah, so I think normally, Rita, do you want to jump in because you, yeah.
So in terms of discounts and in-kinds, it is subjective to the school policies as well. So it is best to speak to, say, Michelle or Eric does just ahead of time, say this application is going through. In terms of this is what we expect for in-kind and discounts. Discounts are only approved by or delegate or yeah, so it is school specific. Now some funding guidelines do require Monash to contribute cash on time, but that's something that we mentioned an MRO accepts that this is part of the grant for external funding, this is a mandatory for institutions. But generally for income, particularly if you need letters of support, then that's when you need to get a sign off from the delegate as well.
And for the discounts, does that solely come off the research margin, or can the discount also come off the overall margin?
Yeah, so June, if you go into the report external, there is a hierarchy of how we discount it.
It's internal.
Oh, internal, sorry.
So if you go down,
here.
the hierarchy is that it goes RCM first, indirect costs, and then research and content services. So after when you discount all that, that's when it affects the cash component.
Yep. Yeah, maybe we can open it up to, I guess, just general Q&A. I do have I guess you can scan this. Sorry if I just do that. So this will open it up, I guess, for people online as well. If they wanted to, if you scan the QR code or you just go to Slido and enter in this number, essentially, yeah, your question will pop up. But we'll also just open it up to general questions from anyone in the room as well. Anyone has any questions? Okay, well, looks like, yeah, you don't have any questions, but if you
There's some in the chat. Sorry, I'm just trying to quickly type it using the Slido, but there's a handful in the chat that we've popped in. One of them is there a way you can display the base salary and the on-cost separately? Because a lot of grants require you to break that down by year. And the other one is whether or not you can get calculations by financial year rather than calendar year to account for the difference in salary level.
Okay, couldn't hear you that well, but I think I heard essentially, could you get a breakdown of base salary and on cost?
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah, so I'll quickly just, so again, in this tab over here, so it's the report external normally. Stop presenting, sorry. I'm so bad at this. Cool. Sorry. So as an example, sharing. Yep. So you can see over here that it's broken down by base salary over here, and your fringe benefit is essentially your on costs over here, if you need that for applications.
Thank you.
And to answer your question about financial year, so it is a bit of a tedious process, but there is a section over here where you can kind of just pro rata that yourself in this section over here on a line by line basis as well.
Okay, so just do it in 6-month increments instead of a full year?
Correct.
0.5, yep. Okay, thank you.
So yeah, you just do half essentially, or over here of what, the full year would have been.
Great, thank you.
Answers you. Do you have any other questions?
No, that was my two. I think there are some others in the chat though from other people.
Yep. Let's see if we go back to. Or in the Zoom chat, or Zoom chat, sorry, I don't actually have the Zoom open. Does. I have the Zoom chat. Okay, all good. Okay.
All right, I'll ask one question.
Yeah.
With the forward-looking FX, and obviously you apply sell rates, but do you also apply a beneficial percentage to us? I mean, if you're going out like 1 year or 2 year, put in like say 5%, not just going on the rate.
Yeah, I think in some cases we do, I guess, have like a.
I haven't seen like a policy in that. So, I mean, I would do that, but obviously we're trying to get people paying Australian dollars.
In terms of policy, Vince, I'm not sure if you're aware of.
This is normally like I would just check with the Treasury, so to get some advice from them. Like if it is across different years, I'll definitely get their views on that.
Because it's interesting, we've got more international business, but we're not well set up to receive like payments in euros or US dollars. And they're of course exposed to it's quite volatile at the moment. So it's a big source of risk and potential loss for us.
Yeah, I would recommend because at Monash we do have a Euros bank account and a USD bank account. But if your project progresses more than 12 months, and it's also the way that you word your contract as well. So if you have so Treasury will always come back and say, if you have a specific defined timeline of your receipt, so you're receiving $1 million USD every year, you have a defined date. What they can do is they can set up a forward contract for you and lock in a rate. So that's one alternative. Or another alternative is you can use that exchange rate, the forecast exchange rate, but then just so that Monash is not bearing a risk of any foreign exchange fluctuations.
A few years ago, I was aware from having a forward contract. That's something more risk.
No, they've always done it, but there is a limit on forward contracts, but it's something where they'll ask you when there's a defined period. Yeah.
Can I just quickly ask? So R&R clearly would like to get the costing model as early as possible from the research, right? So they have time. And let's say the researcher gets it in well before 5 days before it's due. Has R&R got a policy on what the turnaround will be once they've received that from the researcher, or is it just you get back to them when you can, or how's it work?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, we'll work towards whatever the deadline is, but obviously we'll be dedicated to get back to you before the deadline.
Okay.
So
There's
allow
no,
some time.
you don't say we'll contact you within 48 hours, or there's no.
Well, you will get a
strict
response
policy.
within 48 hours for sure. Like to let you know that someone is working on that. That's for sure. In terms of like when we can finalize the proper costings, that it depends on the resource allocation and the time.
We deliberately didn't put a defined period because a lot of costings have an iterative process. But we do want to work with the MRO submission deadline, which is 4 weeks before funding deadline, so we time to do a lot of compliance checks. So you should, as a business, you should get a response within 48 hours, but in terms of finalising,
So I think we've got a question on here, just what do you recommend to brand new researchers do to familiarize themselves with costing grants?
The training module, please.
There is the training module, so I'll quickly show you since we have time. So this is, our intranet. So if you click on, there'll be a link in this slide pack, which I'll get disseminated. So essentially, if you go to costing and pricing training module, training over here. So there's actually, online training videos over here. And there's also, like, you can see a breakdown of just like the different topics over here. So definitely check this page out. That should be a pretty good overview.
Or even the ones that are my development. So anyone can go to my development and search for research costing. We do have a
So there's a link
there.
here.
It's there, right?
Yeah, so the link's over here for the My Development module.
And just check our internet because we do have a lot of information there. I think we also got a funding guidelines summary sheet there, which is very useful. So basically lists out all the entitlements according to every single funder rules when it's identified, and join our workplace space where we will share our news and updates and any exciting news from the research communities, and someone got a good prize for a project, things like that. So just stay connected and reach out to us. We're always there.
Okay, looks like we got a few more questions. So what is an in-kind cost for someone who's never heard about it before? It's a great question.
Okay, I think all right. So in-kind cost. Okay, so I think there's no straight answer to that. That's why I think Rita got a workshop at the moment with basically it's a big debate on cash versus in-kind. But I think on a high level of rule of thumb, an in-kind contribution is obviously that there's a gap between the funding you're asking from the funder and the cost that we have calculated using the costing model. So there's a gap. So in-kind contribution is a rule of thumb is if the project does not go ahead, there will be no additional cost to the university. Okay, that's actually a cash contribution. And if the project doesn't go ahead, and the university will incur those expenditure regardless, and that's an in-kind contribution.
Yes.
Or
an example, like for instance, an in-kind contribution for space is, so if the project goes ahead, Monash will still have to pay for the space, we'll still have to pay for R&R, we'll still have to pay for HR. So these are all in-kind contributions, and CI time is also a really big one. So they may not be able to be costed onto the project, but they're still contributing their time. So their time is in-kind.
Yeah. In that respect, HR and all those costs would be covered by non-costs.
Yes.
Or overheads.
Yes, we're part of the research and corporate services charges, so it's the 47,000 per 1 FTE.
Yeah.
So you still have to pay regardless if the project goes ahead. in or not. Yeah, and also just with facility costs, so overhead, so some will still have to pay for rent, for cleaning and insurance. And that's still a cost borne by us.
You would never have a budget where you say that the overheads are.
No, we do. Yep,
Yeah.
we do. Yep. So for some schemes, they do want to see the full incline to university, and that's why for a lot of our costing, particularly when you do the costing model, you want to put the full cost. So then we actually know what is actually the true cost to the university, and whoever's looking at it through the lens of the university will know actually conducting this project, the funder might only give us $500,000, but the true cost in Monash is actually 1.5 million. So, and then that's where the tender process, and that's where, you know, Andrew will come in and say, hang on, you know, he'll come up with this, then you have the negotiation. You know what you do, but they'll say, you know, you add on IP, your value, or how you think your project is in that kind of stuff. That's where the pricing comes in, but in kind of all projects will have the particularly for federally funded. So little, and we have to provide cash.
Consumers and net cost. This is essentially, so how do I know how much my consumables are meant to cost? So
Would you get a quote, like look in a catalogue? I mean,
yeah,
there's obviously lots of examples. People might take such a huge gap between the consumables, and if they say, no, go and get some quotes, or look up the list price for this instrument. People say, oh, 50,000, that's the big figure. And it's not, it's wrong. So I think people have to just do a bit of background research and look up catalogues to get quotes and things like that. It's the only way to do it.
One thing we do find with consumables, particularly bigger items, is that people have to incorporate the procurement for the consumables, particularly from importing them from overseas. So that's one of the costs that we do have to add in, particularly larger equipment and things, and also animal costs as well. It does go up every year. So yes, getting quotes, looking at what we paid previously, but adding at least 10 to 12% in the procurement of things, that's really important. And also, I think also if you, and some of those equipment sometimes will incur additional taxes as well as shipping duties. So just bear that in mind.
Yep. All right. A way for researchers to work out how far an NHMRC budget would actually go. Just have a full salary.
I guess for NHMRC, the costing are quite straightforward. So they pay by the PSP rates. So they essentially don't care how much Monash paying for the salary. So that's why the costing model. So you have to go by their funding rules. So and whatever the gap there will be
Show in the model.
Yeah, can do a quick show. Yeah.
Get an example up. Sharing. Okay. So yeah, if I just do all the NHMRC grants, so let's just say doing a PSP 5, let's just say 50%, if it's 50% FTE. And then what our staff type. On cost. So if I fill these details in, essentially, if I click on the other summary report, you'll be able to see essentially the difference between what the Monash salary is and what the PSP is covering. So you'll just see essentially the difference over here. And that's Monash's estimated co-contribution that they have to provide to cover the rest of the salary. So yeah. Cool. All right, looks like I guess we'll wrap this up here. Yeah, I'll get this slide pack sent to maybe you, Ashwini, and then maybe, yeah, you can help me send it out to everyone who attended today. Yeah, thank you guys.
Really valuable to learn some of the details, but also the basis behind the spreadsheets. What's behind it. So thanks very much.